Hi, it's Siri Lamb back with part three of the digital copies. Now that you've made digital copies of your sheet and you've given it out to your students and they've given you in answers, what do you do next? How do you go about assessing your students? So I'm going to go into this test class, and a giant thank you to the students who kindly volunteer their time to not only join my class, but also to put answers in the document that you are about to see. So over here, I created an assignment, I put instructions, I put a document following the guidelines that we discussed earlier today. And now I'd like to go and grade my students' work. So the first thing that I do is I click on the assignment and I click on view assignment. That's going to take me into the student work panel. What I see here is on the left, I see my students' names, and it's divided by whether or not, like what they did in terms of the work. I could see that these 5 students turned in the work and that these 2 students received the assignment, which means they're part of my class, but they did not turn in that work. And I can actually see those counts right here. I have these 2. Now, it happens to be if I wanted, I could click on the 2 students who were assigned and did not send it to me, and I could click on this email button and quickly send them an email and say, hey guys, I noticed you didn't hand in the assignment. Please get it in by tonight. But anyway, what I want to show you now instead is how I go about grading this assignment. I'm going to start with one that's actually me. This is my own alternate account where I'm a student. So if you notice me not being as kind as I will be, let's say in the next one that I grade, that is because this is me and it's not a real person. Okay, so now I'm going to grade this student's thing, and I noticed that they spelled their name wrong. So what I would go to do here is I would go to insert a comment, and I might write something like spelling, okay? I mean, obviously this is up to you. It happens to be, I'll show you in a moment, that there's another way that you can make corrections. This one is correct. And then over here, I noticed that my student didn't capitalize, and I'd like them to capitalize. So either I could put in a comment like I did here and say spelling, or I can highlight, let's say, the S, and if I capitalize it for them, it doesn't quite do it. Instead, it makes a suggestion to the student that they should make that correction. I'll show you again about putting in a comment. Here, my student left out a comma, an apostrophe. So I highlight the word that I'd like to put the comment on. This little comment bubble pops up on the side. I click on add a comment, and I write punctuation. I'll explain to you actually what just popped up there in a moment, and then I hit comment. Now I'm done. I'm ready to give my student a grade. They made a couple of mistakes, so I'm giving this student an 85. Now, I'm giving the student an 85. I could add a private comment to say, this is a good start, but please be careful to proofread your work. And then I press post, and my student will actually get a notification that I've said that about their work. The only thing is now I still have not returned their paper to them. And so they actually can't see any of these comments just yet because I own this document once a student has submitted it. Instead, I would need to click on return. It asks me if I want to return the work to this student, and then I press return. And now, once it returns it, you'll notice that I don't have the option to return anymore. Now, when I'm ready to go on to the next student's document, I have 2 ways that I can do it. I can either go up here and click the down arrow, or I can actually see a list of all the students. I can see who turned it in. I can see if it's just as a sign, that means that they didn't turn it in. And I can actually sort them in a number of different ways according to what I want. But the easiest way to move on to the next student is just to hit the next arrow. I get to the next arrow, and here I am at Norma's, and I'm going to give her 100 because she did all of her work. Now, it's a little time consuming to return after every single student, and maybe I don't want to return to students one at a time. I want to be able to grade all of them at the same time. I can. Instead, it still says not returned. That's okay. I move on to the next student. Now, I want you to notice that Mike's is a little bit different. instead of opening it as a Google Doc, because Mike clearly opened this from his phone, he was able to, only on a phone, not on a computer or a Chromebook, on a phone or an iPad, he was able to just actually annotate right over the top of my document, which he did here. And I actually could still leave a comment. So what I would just do is, here I can't leave it on a specific spot, but if I just go to put a comment, oh, you see, it actually says I click comment, and then I highlight the area with this little triangle, and then I can, and then here, let's say I'll leave him a comment here. I can highlight it here after I press on comment, and I can say, cool, I love her too. Okay, and then I press comment, and I go and I give him his grade. Again, he still won't be able to see these comments until I'm going to return it to him. I go on to the next student. He didn't submit anything, so you see it's blank and it only says assigned. I'm going to actually skip his work and go on to the next student who did it. She finally figured out her thing, so I'm going to add a comment to her thing. That's pretty awesome. Okay, now you've seen this happen a few times. I decide that I'm done. I've graded as many students as I am planning to grade. So now, if instead of clicking on return, I click this little arrow, I can choose to return multiple submissions. Now, it's going to, it knows that I only want to return the kids whose work I graded. It checks them off. I could, in theory, return somebody else's, and instead I just press return. And now these students have gotten their work back. And I can see that they've gotten it back because it turns from saying draft to saying there. Now, when I go back to my student work panel, I just have to refresh it because it doesn't realize yet that I returned all of those assignments. It pulled in a grade, but it doesn't know that I returned them. There we are. I have everybody's grades over here, and now we are we're done with this. And now you can see in here, I can see my counts have updated. I have one student who turned it in. That's Freddie's whose work I haven't graded. I have 2 students that got the assignment but didn't do it, and I have 4 who got their work graded. That is grading in Google Classroom. And I will return actually for a part 4 to talk to you about some tips and tricks, most importantly, the comment bank. See you then.